Hi, you guys. Leanne Holitza here for your weekly Oracle check-in. We are going to check in on the week and then get you some personal cards. All you have to do is type me please in the comments and I will get to you with a card. Let's see. A couple of announcements. Coming to the end of the year. We're in December. Holy cow. We've still got intentions and affirmations coming up at the end of this month. We've got the guides group reading is next Friday, if you want to get in on that. That's just basically where kind of like a medium reading, except that I read for your guides in a group. So it's an 8 people maximum group, and we just go and listen specifically from the guides. That's happening Friday. And EA 101 is starting in January, which is exciting. That's going to be something to check out if you've been interested in learning about your own energy anatomy. Yeah, I think those are my announcements. We're going to use the Yantra deck, and then we've got the Carolyn Miss archetype cards, okay? So let's go ahead and check this out. All right. All right, so the week starts off with you not feeling like you're the instrument of your own creativity, your own life, feeling a little blocked. That second chakra, it's hard when you're in survival mode to really get into a space where you can feel in control of yourself. That's what this card is basically indicating. The helper card for the week, Grace Sideways. What this is saying is you may want someone else to have the answers, but there isn't anyone else who has the answers right now. You are being guided back to yourself to listen to your own guidance and your own good advice. Okay, so that's the advice for the week. The end of the week's got presence sideways. So basically what that's saying is we might be feeling a little bombarded with information, with lots of things going on, racing towards the end of the year. That probably makes it a little bit crazier anyways. So this card basically is indicating that this week might feel a little blocked and a little challenging and busy in ways that are not necessarily fun. Okay. It's always good to get the forecast. Sometimes it's just cold outside, right? All right, so this is going to be your first card. Now, if you're just joining and you haven't been here before, you just type me please in the deck or in the comments, and they will I will get you a card. If we start to see the card 3 times a charm, then that means it's for all of us. Now, I'm using a big deck today, okay? So this is Carolyn Miss's archetype cards. And she's got there 80 in this deck. So if we see three cards in a row in the same direction, yeah, we're going to want to pay attention. Now, if your card comes upside down, that's where you're going to be working on focusing on shadow attributes of the archetype. And if they come right side up, you're working on the light attributes. Okay. All righty, let's get going. So this is your first card, you guys. If you're watching later, this is how you participate. If you're watching live, hi, everybody. Let's tune in. You got 1, 2, or 3. Which one feels like your card? All right, if you picked 1, you're working with the engineer in the light attributes way, okay? So let me read it for you. It says, ability to give creative energy a practical expression, talent for designing resolutions to common dilemmas. Okay, so you're going to activate your problem-solving skills this week if you picked 1. If you picked 2, you're going to work with the destroyer in the light, okay? Releasing what's potentially destructive and preparing for new life, okay? So like clearing the deck, getting everything pulled out so you can start new, make a fresh start there. All right, now if you picked 3, we're working with the Messiah, but it came upside down, so that's the shadow attribute, okay? It says, exaggerated belief that you are the only means through which a cause can succeed, okay? So be careful where you're playing the savior complex if you picked 3 this week, okay? Because the savior complex, not necessarily useful to our movement forward, especially with the other parts of the week that we saw, okay? All right, Miranda made it first to the top of the list. We're going to go down the list here. Now, you guys, I used to be able to see your names, but now all I see is at so-and-so. I don't know if that's a setting I should fix. I don't really know. Oh, goodness. Okay, Miranda, You're going to work with the athlete right side up. Okay. So it says dedication to transcending physical limits, including handicaps, development of personal willpower, and strength of spirit. So lots of moving your body this week, lots of overcoming, you know, physical challenges. Physical movement's going to be your wisdom this week. Okay. So wherever you can, get that going. All right, Kay, your focus this week, and Ian, Charlie, Val. Okay, you got poet in the upside down. Okay, so you're working with turning a lyric gift to a negative or destructive effect. Okay, so watch your words this week. Okay, see how there's like doves coming out of our mouth when it's in light? It's like your words maybe are not necessarily, even if you're kind of joking or saying something in jest, be careful that you aren't being cruel. Okay. Ian, your card is the child nature upside down. So you're working with the shadow attribute of a tendency to abuse animals, people, and the environment. I don't know that that would be true at all, but you might just want to take a look at what that kind of means metaphorically, where you're maybe not taking care of like the natural environment or where you're pushing things a little too hard. Okay. Charlie, you're working with the child orphan in the light attributes. Okay. What this says is it's independence based on learning to go it alone, conquering fear of surviving. So you're going to have some independence this week, giving yourself some time to trust yourself, get yourself going here. Okay. Val, ooh, you're working with the slave, but in the light attributes. Okay. So it says surrendering your power of choice to the divine with complete trust. So this is just kind of like if you don't feel like you have a choice, but you do. You don't have to go to work. You don't have to pay your taxes. You really don't. It's choice to, because you want the benefits of it, right? So that's where you're talking to your spirit guides this week about like understanding sometimes you do feel like you're kind of being taken advantage of, but you're also look at why you're doing what you're doing. Okay. Kara, Tatiana, Kai, and Kenzie. It's a whole family today. Scribe, well, maybe not everybody, but almost. Light attribute is preserving the knowledge and information. That's for you, Kara. Okay. So you're going to be working on writing things down, taking good notes, making sure you're documenting. Okay. Tatiana, you want to work this week on poet in the light. So expressing soul insights in symbolic language. Okay, so using your words to create art, maybe write a story, write a poem, that kind of thing, sing a song. Kai's going to want to focus on the angel in the light attribute. Okay, so helping those in need with no expectation in return. So just being a giving person this week is your focus. Okay, and then Kenzie, you're going to focus on the martyr, but upside down. Okay, so that means you're going to be working with the shadow side, which is the addiction to self-pity. Watch out for that pity monster. Poor me. Poor me. Don't do that. Watch out for that this week. Okay. All right. Elizabeth R. You want to work with the artist. Okay. So this is expression, a dimension of life that's just beyond the five senses, inspiring others to see life symbolically. Okay, so this is just giving yourself a chance to be getting that second chakra going, even though it kind of indicates that it's blocked for us this week. But give yourself a chance to really just do it for the sake of doing it. Okay, for the sake of beauty. Diane S., you're going to work with the angel. Second time we've seen that, you guys. So keep a lookout. So helping others with no expectations in return. So being willing to just be the giver this week. Okay. Tiff W., you're going to work on the child divine, but in the shadow attribute. It says the inability to defend oneself against negative forces. Okay, so maybe spend a little time looking into that and see if that's even true. And if it is true, why is it going on? And how can you give yourself a little space from those negative forces? Okay. Heidi M., working with Avenger in the shadow. Okay. So resorting to violence in the name of a cause. Ooh. Now this can be, this doesn't necessarily have to be like fists. It could be violent words, violent energies. So just be kind of aware of where you want to fire off, and maybe don't do that this week. Maybe be on the lookout for it. Okay. little chill time, a little extra space between the reactions. Christy R. and Lisa. Christy, you're working with the night energy and the light attributes. So this is loyalty, romance, chivalry, love of honor. Okay, so just kind of be that for yourself this week. Be able to be loyal for yourself, be able to love yourself. And a little bit of fantasy wouldn't hurt, okay? Lisa, you're working with the prostitute in the light energy, okay? It says accentuates the challenge of surviving without negotiating the power of your spirit. So just being on the lookout where you're selling yourself and where you're maybe selling yourself short, and seeing how that positive ability to be able to see yourself in that light and do it a little bit differently. Okay. Eli, you're going to be working with a warrior, but in the shadow. Okay. It says trading ethical principles for victory at any cost. Indifference to suffering inflicted on others. Oof. So be careful where you might be fighting just to fight, just to get on the upper hand, and careful not to do that this week because it's going to be a little challenging. Okay. Now I'm not entirely sure who LHMC Cool 67 is. I can't really see your picture very well, but that's who I'm going for now. Me, please. All right, you've got the exorcist in the light. Okay, so this basically says freeing yourself and others of destructive impulses. Oh, okay, nice. You're going to be able to say to the world, we're not going to be doing that anymore, everybody. All right, Alexis and Travis. Alexis, you're working with the prince in the light attributes, so romantic charm and potential for power. Okay, maybe being that even for yourself. Okay, so being romantic, being willing to be generous, expressing your love, that kind of thing. Okay, Travis, you got the Avenger upside down. Second time we've seen this. Okay, resorting to violence in the name of a cause. Deep breath, everybody. That's the second time we see that card. We might see it again, and if we see it again, it's for all of us. To just be careful not to use our fighting words this week, not to be aggressive, okay? Terry and Colin. Terry, you got the fool in the shadow, okay? What it says is using humor to wound rather than liberate. Denial of your emotional truth, okay? I was kind of getting that for K too, that like the poet card was like, just careful where you're like saying things in jest, but it's actually kind of mean. Watch out for that. Okay. Colin, you're going to work with the detective, but in the dark shadow attributes, voyeurism and falsifying information. All right. So be on the lookout for that. Your guides also said be on the look at that happening around you as well. Okay. So the people acting, kind of falsely, reporting falsely. Okay. Robin, Chris, and Austin. Robin, third time's a charm for the angel, you guys. Right side up, helping others in need without expectations in return. That card is now for all of us. You guys, this is an 80 card deck. So for it to come up, that's big significance. Okay. So this card is basically saying that, Robin, it would be really good, but all of us would be really good to focus on giving just for the sake of giving this week. No expectations of receiving. Okay. Chris. Okay. I shuffled you guys. Doubling down on the angel. Same thing. Fourth time's a charm on that, you guys. Give for the sake of giving. No expectations of receiving. And especially, being willing to just kind of accept people where they are. Okay. Austin, you're going to be working with the rescuer in the light. Okay. So what it says is provide strength and support to others in crisis. Acts out of love with no expectation or reward, which is also what the angel card is saying. So, but one of the things I want you to recognize about this card is she's holding the life preserver, but she's not drowning herself. Okay. So you're basically, this week we're being asked not to rescue necessarily, but to just give and hold space. Okay. Kelly and Matthew. Kelly, you're working with warrior in the light attributes, which says strength and skills, disciplines, and toughness of will, heroism, stoicism, and self-sacrifice in conquering the ego. So being willing to fight for the cause, but without that ego behind it, without having to be right, that kind of thing. Okay, Matthew, You've got the networker, but you got it in the upside down. So it says conveys information only for personal gain, spreads fear and falsehood. So this is just like careful with what you say and careful with what you put out, because it's really going to be one of those things that has a lot of consequences long term. Like once it goes out, you can't really get it back, kind of thing. Okay. All right. Joe L. Joe, you're working with the hedonist, right side up, inspiring creative energy and embracing good things and celebrating the beauty in yourself. Enjoy a little extra this week, okay? I know it can be a lot to think about sometimes, especially at certain times of year, but as we give without expectation, we also do for ourselves. Seriously wonderful, Courtney. You're going to work with the child eternal in light, determined to remain young in the body, mind, and spirit, ability to see things with fresh eyes. Okay, so start new every single day. I'm willing to see something different. I'm willing to see the difference in other people and the growth in them, that kind of thing. Okay, Janelle and Donnie. Janelle, gambler. Okay, the willingness to follow your intuition, even when others doubt you. Take a risk, use your intuitive side. Jump in when it makes sense to jump in without knowing for sure if you're right. Find out later. Donnie, you are working with the prostitute, but you got it in the upside down. So this says places material considerations and security above self-empowerment. Okay, so give yourself some self-empowerment. Don't sell yourself short. See your gifts as important and go out and see where they want to be applied next. And then Sister Janice of Janelle. Third time's a charm, you guys. Avenger upside down. Okay, so it says restoring to violence in the name of a cause. Don't do it, you guys. Give without expectation and don't resort to violence. Watch out where your aggressions are coming out. Take deep breaths. Give yourself a moment. That kind of thing. Okay. Third time's a charm in an 80 deck is a big deal. Catherine S. Okay, in the light, second time we've seen this card, third time we've seen it fully, but you got the accentuates challenge of surviving without negotiating the power of your own spirit. Okay, so basically just focusing on being able to say, I'm not gonna use myself to exploit. I'm gonna use myself to give the gifts I have to give and make sure it's balanced in power. Okay. All right, Eli, I see you're asking for Taryn. Poet, fourth time we've seen it, second time we've seen it right side up. Expressing soul insights in symbolic language. Use your words peacefully. Sing, hum, write a poem, write a love note, whatever it makes sense, but just use your words, okay? For good. Hannah H. You got the networker upside down as well. So you and Matthew, this is basically a caution, like don't put stuff out, especially in like social media platforms or that kind of thing, where you might not be able to retrieve it or get it back or recall it in any way. Okay. Natalie. It's Natalie 4467. Okay, you got the mentor, but you got it upside down. So what it says is inability to allow the student to move on to the role of master, imparting false instructions. All right, so just be careful where you might be accidentally holding somebody back by staying power over them this week and not teaching them all they need to know. It's that whole like teach them how to fish, not give them a fish, right? All right, Lori E. You are bringing the Avenger back to us in the shadow attribute. So fourth time message, you guys, don't resort to violence in the name of a cause, okay? That can be even verbal violence, you guys, or just energetic violence where you're like firing off energy. Be careful about that this week. It costs you too when we do these things. So, all right, Melissa and Shannon. Melissa, you got child nature upside down. So it just says tendencies to abuse animals, people, and the environment. So you and Ian both got that card, and I would not even see you guys like that at all. But look for the metaphor in that. Okay. So where maybe are you not taking full respect for other people, especially the ones that, don't necessarily have the power that you do in a situation. Okay. So just be on the lookout for that. Shannon. Oh, you brought the angel to us, but you brought it upside down. So we got the angel light side that's for all of us. The also work for you, Shannon, is to notice acting innocent or angelic to mislead others, falsely claiming to be in touch with the angelic guidance. Okay, so just be aware of where you maybe your do-gooder side would come out in a way that would be kind of a shadow. Okay, that's what this kind of calling out. All right, Crystal and family. Let's see. Crystal, you got the thief right side up. Okay, so it says sheds light on potential wealth within you that can never be stolen. Okay, so things that are yours and can never be taken away is what you're going to focus on this week. Chris is going to focus on the networker upside down. Third time's a charm, you guys. Don't spread false information this week. Be careful what you put out there, even if you kind of think that it might be just sort of twisted. It's just very, very careful with your networks this week, okay? Especially since we got the don't be violent kind of card, and then also, do it just for the sake of doing it, okay? So third time's a charm for that, you guys. That's a message for all of us. All right. Genevieve, you got the addict, but you got it on the light side, okay? It says helps you recognize and confront addictive behavior. So things that you just keep doing that maybe it's kind of taken to an unhealthy level at this point, okay? So watch out for that this week. Isabel is going to work with the saboteur, but in the light or the shadow, okay? So it says induces self-destructive behavior or the desire to undermine others. So watch out for that sneaky little side that says, I'm going to mess things up just to mess things up, because that side of can be more destructive than anybody wants to think. Okay. All right. Kay, I see you're asking for Emily. Let me get that card. Okay, Emily's working with the artist. Second time we've seen that. Expressing dimensions of life that are just beyond the five senses. Inspiring others symbolically. Okay, so giving a little bit of symbolism to your life, and giving a little symbolism to other people's lives and what they might be feeling with you. Okay. Kimberly S. Okay, you got the king. All right. Light attributes, enlightenment, benevolent leadership, benefiting those in your charge. Okay. So what is this saying? This is basically saying that you're the leader this week. Be benevolent about that leader. Be aware that you matter. Your opinion matters. Your words matter. Your strategy matters. So really focusing on that leadership space this week. Don't give it away. It's yours to keep. Denise S. You're working with detective in the light. Great powers of observation and intuition, desires to seek out the truth. All right, Val, I see you asking me, please. And I think Kay asked on your behalf above, but just in case, I'll give you another one. Val, third time's a charm for this one. So here we go, you guys. Poet upside down. Turn lyric gift into negative or destructive effect. Okay, so everybody be careful with your words this week. Don't be violent. Don't give without expectation. Don't spread false rumors. That's all for us this week, okay? All right, Tanya. If you picked one at the beginning, it's doubling down for you. This is engineer. It's basically being a problem solver, okay? Being able to get practical problems solved in practical ways. Focus on the stuff that you know, the stuff that you're skilled at fixing, okay? All right. So if you guys are still hanging out, I'm going to summarize for us in just a minute here. But if you haven't typed me, please, in the comments, please do. I'm going to throw a card for my husband because he's normally listening. Doesn't type me, please, in the comments. Oh, you're getting two, darling. First one is angel, but upside down. Okay. So just kind of like Shannon, watch out for acting angelic and misleading others, falsely claiming to be in touch with higher sources than you are. Okay, and then you also got the student, but upside down. It says arrogance in the pursuit of destructive knowledge, unwillingness to translate knowledge into action. So a little bit of being in self-check this week would be a good thing. So this deck is harsh, isn't it? All right. So let's go ahead, and if you're still watching, go ahead, type me, please. If you haven't already, I'm going to get the cards out that are kind of three times the charm, so we'll summarize them. So we got the angel right side up, helping others with no expectation in return. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, Where did it go? This is a big deck, you guys. That's why when we get 3 cards, three in a row, it's a big deal. All right, so we got the networker, but we got it upside down. So be careful about spreading rumors or things that aren't true. Be careful with your words. Once you hit send, it's hard. You can't recall it. You only have 10 seconds. We got the poet in the upside down. Okay, and the poet in the upside down is also be careful with your words. Also being careful with your abilities to uh, create ripple effects, right? With your mouth and your language. All right, last one. I'm not finding, but I know what it is. It was basically telling us not to use violence, right? I mean, we were being told like careful to not, yeah, the Avenger. Okay, so it's basically don't resort to violence in the name of a cause. Okay, so my guess is you guys this week might be a little bit intense. It might be a little crunchy, as I like to say, because of the Yantra Dex cards and then these cards. Basically, stay in your highest self, give just for the sake of giving. Keep your mouth closed if you're feeling frustrated. Take deep breaths, go give yourself some space, go for a walk rather than respond from that place, okay? I mean, sometimes some weeks are a little just more intense than others, and it's okay to just have like a little bit of a forecast and get that out of the way. All right, you guys, I've come to the bottom of the list. Thank you all. If you guys are watching and you haven't, I'm doing this every Sunday. I've been doing it for years, for the most part. If you hit subscribe and you hit the bell button, you'll get told that. Yeah, so come join me and get a card and get your forecast for the week. Okay, everybody, go be amazing.